Hey everyone, this video is going to be my Destruction Warlock guide for Shadowlands PvP. I'll go over what's changed, why or when you should play it over Affliction, and all the other build related stuff like talents and PvP talents, gearing, stats, all that stuff that you're probably wondering about. So yeah, this video is going to be more build focused, and I'll make sure to do more like gameplay related videos on Destro, like I did with Affliction, but that's going to be something for the future. So in terms of changes from BFA to Shadowlands, not a whole lot changed. If you play Destro in BFA, you're going to find that Shadowlands is basically the exact same thing.
What was that right there? Bolt with no cooldowns up?
Yep.
60-0.
Keep it up.
20k! Holy fuck! Minus the fact that we unfortunately lost the PvP talent Entrenched in Flames. It's gone from the list now. This was the conflag route, and honestly that was a super big change because conflag routes was it was the biggest source of outplays. As a Destro lock, you could, for example, you could root a warrior on their charge. You could you could do a lot of cool things like that. You could root them before they went out of LOS. Unfortunately that's gone now. But the second big thing that has changed is Roaring Blaze and Reign of Chaos, this talent row. So Roaring Blaze used to make conflag do an extra dot on the target, which was kind of underwhelming, but it was you will take it sometimes. Now what it does is it makes them take 25% more fire damage. The main one you're looking for here is for conflag. This is actually super good. With the legendary you take, Cinders, it gives you an extra conflag charge and reduces the recharge time of conflag. So when you synergize that with Roaring Blaze, you actually hit super hard with your instant cast, which is very nice. The other one that's changed is Reign of Chaos. It used to have Grimoire of Supremacy here, which was when you spent a Soul Shard, your next bolt would hit harder. That's gone now. It's been replaced with Reign of Chaos. When you use Soul Shards, instead it procs more Fernies. Not the greatest talent, but that's what's changed. A lot of people have also been asking me whether to play Affliction still or switch over to Destro, and why. Well, my answer to that is, in my opinion, Destro is a much stronger 3v3 spec and will end up being pretty decent now after all the changes. If you're looking to get higher rating or like improve at the game, you need to go Destro. It's time to jump off that Affliction train. Affliction is just way too squishy. You can't punish people for making mistakes, and it's just miserable to play, man. Like, playing for dampening and playing Marathon Simulator is not fun. I don't know who enjoys it. I know I get mad every single time I play it, and some of you guys probably do too. So yeah, so Destro does way more meaningful damage. It has instant damage in the form of conflag, and you can actually pressure and like punish people when they make mistakes, which is super nice. Additionally, and probably the main reason why I like playing Destro now is it's actually got a lot of CC. You have the double coils, and you're actually able to press Fear a lot because, well, first of all, you're tankier, and second of all, you have multiple schools to cast from, unlike Affliction. So it's actually very nice. And the best part, of course, is Holy Paladins don't make their team take 15% less damage against you because of Shadow Resistance aura, like when you're Affliction. So that's actually nice to actually be able to kill Holy Paladin teams before 12 minutes into dampening for once. In twos, I think the two specs are a little bit closer maybe, and I'm not really sure which one is better, but I think both are totally viable to play. Okay, so first of all, it's pretty standard. Everything is basically the same as BFA. For the first row, Flashover is by far the best. Increases conflag damage, and when you use conflag, it reduces the cast time of Incinerate and Chaos Bolt by 30%. That's the backdraft proc. You get 2 stacks of backdraft instead, as shown here. 2 stacks, pretty nice. The other 2 talents are not really worth it compared to how good Flashover is. Conflag, I mentioned, is super strong, and you really want to be buffing that one. Eradication is, okay, and Soulfire does a lot of damage. But it's also a 3.3 second cast, and I think is a little bit memey. If you're messing around in some 2s, you can play this, but for 3s, I would never pick this one because I'm not going to cast this, ever. Second row, Reverse Entropy is the main, I guess, cookie cutter default spec you pick. You can switch over for Shadowburn if you know that it's going to be really hard to cast. Shadowburn does hit decently hard, and just makes Destro a huge instant cast damage spec. With Cinders, you got 3 charges of Conflag, and with 2 charges of Shadowburn, you know, you can dump like, I don't know, like 15k damage instantly in 5 globals, of course, but without needing to cast is actually pretty nice. So, Reverse Entropy or Shadowburn, the only real options. I would say if you're confident in getting bolts off, then Reverse Entropy. Having more haste is actually always good, and it's got about a 40% uptime inside Arena. For the third row, Demon Skin, easy choice. The other 2 are terrible. Please do not ever pick either of these 2. For the fourth row, Rain of Fire is not for PvP. Like you press it to keep people in combat when they're trying to drink or re-stealth. You don't use it for damage, and you never AoE like that in Arena, so it's not good. Fire and Brimstone, same thing. It's just not meaningful damage, not that useful. Cataclysm does hit pretty hard, and it saves you a global or cast with Immolate, so it's the choice here. Onto the level 40 row. Coil is an easy choice, and the reason for that is Havoc duplicates your coils, so you can coil 2 targets at once, like this. And that's why Coil is a lot better for Destro than it is for Affliction. And onto this row here, this is the new row. I would say you never take Reign of Chaos, because when you proc an extra Fernie, it lasts for 8 seconds. It's really not impactful enough for it to really be worth, you know, taking. And it only works every 3 minutes with your Infernals, so it's very underwhelming. I like to play Roaring Blaze as a default, just putting up that Conflag dot, I'm sorry, not dot, but fire damage increase, and, you know, triple Conflagging, it's super nice. You do a lot of burst damage with it, and it's all instant, so I like Roaring Blaze. However, pets, unfortunately, after the damage reduction buff are still insanely squishy. If you've ever watched my stream, you've seen me kill another Warlock's pets in 1 bolt or 2 Star Surges. So against any team that you are at all concerned about your pet dying, you play Grimoire or Sacrifice, and sack your pet just like you do with Affliction. Unfortunately, Roaring Blaze is sick, but we don't really get to utilize it because against a lot of teams, if they just kill your pet, you're just completely screwed. Lastly, this right here. This is something that you can change as well. You would run Dark Soul into a majority of teams, but into mages, because they can spell steal that, you really don't want to be giving a mage 30% crit for 20 seconds. So this row, you can take any of the 2. Channel Demon Fire is pretty bad, and Soul Conduit is pretty bad as well. So this row sucks, man. Unfortunately, because this is purgeable, I probably would still take Dark Soul even into mages and just try to get that 1 bolt off before they spell steal it, but yeah, this row is completely awful. Unfortunately, you're kind of pigeonholed into taking Dark Soul, and if you're facing a mage, you can take one of the other 2. Doesn't really matter, both are useless. So moving on to PvP talents, Focus Chaos is completely necessary. 40% Chaos Bolt damage buff. You basically have to take this one. It's super good. Bolt hits super hard, so you want this. And then your other 2, Nether Ward and Demon Armor, are pretty standard. You have a little bit of flexibility. So into casters, you want Nether Ward, but you don't need Demon Armor. In this case, I would take Cremation. It just makes your Conflags just deal more damage, which is always nice. When you couple that with Roaring Blaze, your instant Conflags are doing a lot of damage. So against Caster Cleaves, I take Cremation, Nether Ward, and Focus Chaos like this. Into Melee Cleave, or just any team with a melee on it, I would switch it around and do this. I don't think the other options are particularly enticing, but you know, they're not that great. So I think you can make a case for Fellfisher instead of Cremation in some situations, but for the most part, I just like the safety of Cremation. You're going to be conflagging a lot with this new legendary we have, and you want to be buffing it as much as possible, right? Well, Covenant, Soulbinds, and Conduits. Let's talk about that. First one is Night Fae. That is your main option, and secondly, you could also take Necrolord. I'll touch on that in a bit. If you're going to be Night Fae, this is what you want to be running. Just like this, if you guys want to take a screenshot. I'm not going to go mouse over what each thing does. You guys can do that in your own time. And alternatively, you could also go for Karain and put in the same conduits, but going down the left side like this. So for Naya, the main reason why this is my main pick is because of this thing here. Basically, when you press Soul Rot, you get 200 Mastery, 8% health. Mastery is Destrolock's best stat, aside from Verse. So you really want to take advantage of this. You can cast a Soul Rot before you start doing damage. You get damage reduction, and you get a ton of extra damage. It's always nice. The last row is completely useless. All three of these are really completely trash. So this is the least trash one, the Burrs. And the herbs actually don't proc at all. And well, the poison can be dispelled and it does no damage. So really what you're taking here is the Burrs, which do like 2% of your damage, and getting a conduit, which is not really that valuable. Main thing for conduits as Destro is Ashen Remains. What it does is when you have Immolate on a target, your Chaos Bolt and Incinerate deal more damage, which is pretty nice. But for the most part, potency conduits with Destro are pretty bad, so don't stress too much. For finesse, you want to take Shade of Terror for more fear damage. You can actually conflag into fears without breaking now, which is super nice because now if you're setting up on a healer, you can immolate them, you can conflag them, and then you can cast the bolt and the fear won't break, which is very, very handy and changes your setups a little bit. In terms of endurance conduits, man, all the endurance conduits for Warlocks are super underwhelming. So it really doesn't matter. You could literally have nothing in here, and it would be fine. I like to go for Resolute Barrier, and then Diabolic Bloodstone next. But I mean, for endurance conduits, it really doesn't matter. Like I said, the main thing is just Ashen Remains and Shade of Terror. If you do choose to go down the second potency route, I would take either Combusting Engine or Soul Eater. Personally, I like Combusting Engine a little bit more just because Soul Eater increases the damage, but it can just get dispelled. Whereas this one is a bit more consistent, and I like to go for safer picks. Secondly, for Soulbinds, like I said, you can just go down the same way that I'm showing here and take Face Your Foes if you want. But I think Naya is a little bit better. But I think the difference between the two is not really that important. And of course, you want to replace the conduits with the Destro ones that I mentioned. If you want to play Necrolord, I'm going to show you what I would take if I was going to be Necrolord. Okay, so if you want to go Necrolord, this is what I would go. You want to go Marilith, and the reason for that is because of this thing right here. This is the sole reason and only reason I would ever go Necrolord. You get a 15% shield when you go below 50% health, and you know, it's like Nature's Guardian in a way. It's not bad, but and you can also immune CC with Fleshcraft, which is kind of cool. I don't know if this is really worth it because Decimating Bolt is really, really bad, and Fleshcraft is a 2-min CD that is probably not going to help you as much as Knife Soul Shape will. So if you're already Necrolord, you can go this one, and I think it's okay. But yeah, like I said, for the most part, I like Naya from Night Fae, and even Karain could be decent too. So for Legendary, a lot of people ask me this question. The two main ones you want to be taking is right here, Cinders, and also Madness of Azrakir. These are the two options that you really want to be getting. I think Relic of Demonic Synergy could be okay, but not as valuable as these two. Personally, I pick Cinders. What it does is it gives you one additional conflict charge and also reduces the cooldown time on it by 3 seconds. So right now, if you can see, my conflag is 8.2 seconds recharge, and I've only got 21.85% haste. That scales with haste. So if I take off this haste trinket, let's see what it goes to. 8.4 seconds, right? So the more haste you have, the better Destro gets. It scales very, very nicely because of that. And what Madness of Azrakir does is when you Chaos Bolt, the next Chaos Bolt does 25% increased damage, and it also casts 20% faster, but it only lasts for 3 seconds. So you can imagine with this one, you get some huge one-shots, and you can just like, it can be game-changing damage, right? The reason why I pick Cinders is because it's safer. And also Conflag hits extremely hard and makes gameplay much more fluid. You have backdraft a lot more often. If you get purged on backdraft as well, you can Conflag again and get a new charge up. And with Roaring Blaze, you know, Conflag does a lot of damage. It's just instant damage throughout the game that you're constantly getting value out of. Especially when you have low haste, getting bolts out is kind of hard. I think this is by far and away like the best one for actual like climbing rating and like top tier gameplay. If you're wanting to meme and one-shot people, obviously this is going to give you bigger bolts and bigger one-shots. I think it's decent, but against like I would say in 100% of your games, okay, not 100%, in like 95% of your games, you're not even going to get any value out of this. You're not going to get 2 back-to-back bolts. In the 5% that you do, I'm sure you'll be able to win the game anyway, just playing Cinders. Having more conflags means more incinerates, more bolts, and just more instant damage. I think it's just so much better than this. I'll be crafting this one as well eventually, but this is not something I think is overall good. This is something more for like if you want to have fun and meme and kill people when they make mistakes, more than actually playing the game properly and trying to like do well on a ladder. So that's legendaries. In terms of gearing and stats, it's pretty standard. It's the same old as Affliction. You want to go for Verse number 1 and then go for Haste number 2. For Destro, something important to note is that Mastery is actually better damage, but slightly worse damage reduction. If the Verse Amp from the Trinket bonus did not exist, then Mastery would be our number 1 stat. Unfortunately, because of this, Verse is competitive in terms of damage, but Verse gives you more damage reduction. So for ladder queues, I would say you want Verse and then Haste, and then Mastery and then Crit. But if you're, and that's because it gives you more damage reduction, right? If you're queuing into a Rogue or like, you know, a Warrior or a Windwalker Monk and you have no Verse, have fun. However, that being said, into casters, you can avoid damage with having more haste and like just casting and doing things, because you're not just tanking damage from a melee, right? So into casters, I think haste and then mastery is better. The reason for that, yeah, like I said, you're not going to be tanking damage. You can avoid damage, so if you play well, you won't die. And also, you're just going to hit way harder with mastery. So verse any team with a melee, haste verse any team with a caster, haste mastery. But for you know, queuing on the ladder, you definitely just want to have haste verse. One more thing to mention is that haste is an extremely important stat because you're casting so much as a Destro lock, and like I said, conflag is reduced by haste. So I do like to prioritize and enchant haste a little bit more, rather than going for reverse enchants and stuff like that. And I also like to wear the proc trinket over the badge because the 226 badge, or the Sinister's Gladiator's badge, has crit on it. The Honor one does not, but the Conquest one does. So I actually like to use the proc trinket instead. And I get a little bit more haste. So for a playstyle and dealing damage, I'll talk about dealing damage first. Dealing damage as a Destro lock is super easy. It basically involves maintaining Immolate and then casting Soul Rot before you want to do damage, like Burst, because it gives you that mastery from Naya. After that, you want to use Conflag to get a stack of Backdraft, this thing here, and then dump bolts. So I'll just show you real quick what I want to do. So I want to cast an Immolate, Soul Rot into Conflag, and then dump bolts. As many bolts as I can. And during downtime, just making sure Conflag is not capping. And as a filler, you can cast Incinerate or Fear. Additionally, you can cast Cataclysm, basically on cooldown or when you want to burst. But like I said, Destro is super easy. Basically, just just make sure you're not casting a bolt like this without that backdraft proc, because you're going to be casting the slowest old man bolt in existence, and you're going to get kicked at the very end of it, and you're going to be super, super sad. So always make sure you conflag before you bolt. And one more thing to mention, because of this conduit right here, Chaos Bolt does more damage to targets afflicted by Immolate, so it's pretty important to maintain Immolate on your target, especially before you bolt. Another nice trick to remember is using Cataclysm on a healer at a pillar. So let's imagine if this tree is a healer, or this training dummy by the tree is a healer and the tree is a pillar. I like to Cataclysm like this and put Immolate up on them, rather than casting on, you know, my kill target in the middle of the map. In terms of playstyle, your goal in the game is to basically just control the enemy team as much as possible with Curse of Exhaustion and Fear. You want to fear one target till DR and then fear the other afterwards and rotate it like that, so using your DRs efficiently. And between that, you're just trying to do as much damage as you can. It's super important you cast Fear as much as possible, because not only will you CC the enemy team and, you know, take less damage, but you'll also bait out kicks for time to bolt. If you try to play the game without fearing at all, you're going to eat every kick on your bolt, and you're going to hate Destro and want to respec, so it's super important. Try to think of Destro as like a mage. You want to dump your damage during goes, and then CC until you can do damage again. Okay, so now that we talked about playstyle and how to deal damage, I'm going to talk about comps that you can play as a Destro lock. I'm not going to talk about twos because I honestly have no idea. I'm sure everything would work except for a Restless Shaman and a Mistweaver Monk. I don't Mistweaver for obvious reasons, and I think Restless Shamans don't really synergize with Warlocks that well right now. So I'm going to talk about threes comps. In my opinion, the best one right now would be Ellie, Destro, Holy Pally. Holy Pally is extremely OP. Ellie Shamans are very strong, and you get Sky Fury as well for the big burst. That comp's always, you know, synergize well. Those classes work together very well, and they're all very strong. So I think that's going to be probably our best. I think Mage Lock is going to make a comeback for Holy Pally. Shadow Play might be decent, and Boomy Destro could be pretty decent as well. But I think for the Wizard comps, LS Pal, Mage Lock are going to be the kings. In terms of playing melee Destro, I'm not sure which one would be best. Maybe Feral Destro would be actually the best one. Ferals can clone a lot, do a crap ton of instant burst every minute with their Kyrian ability, and that synergizes really well with how Destro works as well. You can just dump your conflags when your Feral's doing damage, and kill people like that. I think Warrior Destro, Windwalker Destro, Red Destro might work as well, and I really would not recommend playing Rogue Destro. Main reason for that is rogues are just squishy, and Destro Lock is going to be trained. And if the rogue is like, if you have a rogue as well, it's just too fragile. So I don't think that's going to be that great, but maybe I'm wrong. So that's my opinion on what comps to play, but I'm not really too sure yet because the patch did just come out 2 days ago. But to summarize for comps, I think LS Pal for casters and Feral Destro for melee. Hopefully this was helpful to you guys. Like I said, I will make sure to put out some videos specifically on how to play Destro against certain comps and, like, you know, more gameplay oriented stuff like that. But I just wanted to put out this video pretty fast so that a lot of you guys knew what to play. Thank you for watching. Make sure you follow my stream on Twitch TV/Chanimal and subscribe to my YouTube channel, and see you guys next time.